So my name is Kelsey. I'm one of the coordinators for mental health first aid. I coordinate primarily Northern Kentucky and the greater Cincinnati area. So thank you for joining us today. I know that, um, it's lunchtime and you're busy, so hopefully this is beneficial for you. Um, so okay, good, it's noon. So today we're gonna do some simulations, and there is a volunteer element, so please feel free to be, to join in. Bridget will explain it more, but we do have you know, kind of if you can keep yourself muted unless you're part of the simulation, that would be great. Otherwise, we'll mute you just so we don't hear background noise. I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Bridget, and she'll kind of go over a little bit more of like what you're actually doing today.
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, everyone, and thank you, Kelsey, for hanging in there, being a good sport today. I know you're not feeling well, so thank you. And I'll just introduce myself, and then I'll let Beth introduce herself. But I'm Bridget Swihart, so I work alongside with Kelsey at the Mental Health America of Northern Kentucky and Southwest Ohio, where we deliver mental health first aid, which I believe probably many of you have probably received your training, your first aider training through that organization. So excited to have you here today to give us an opportunity to practice a bit more our algae skills in some different scenarios. So Beth, if you want to introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Beth Ash, and I am with Bowling Green State University, and we are bringing the virtual simulation part to this session. I work with some grants here that allow us to do that. And I'll turn it over to Jared, who can kind of introduce himself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I won't come on camera just yet, and you'll see why eventually. But my name is Jared Mariani, and I am the lead simulation specialist at Bowling Green State University, and I will be delivering the simulations that you interact with today.
Wonderful, thank you. And Jared, we're excited to get to work alongside with you in the background. So thank you very much. Certainly a big thank you to Beth and Jared and the full team at BGSU that makes this possible. This is actually our third time, I believe it's our third time doing this exercise, which has been great, and we've gotten a lot of great feedback. In fact, all of you are going to receive a post evaluation after today, and we do encourage you to please fill that out and send that in. It just gives us an idea about ways we can tailor this for in the future to make it the best use of your time and make it the most beneficial thing. I think it really did come from feedback that we received from first aiders, though, who said the class is wonderful. We really enjoy doing the mental health first aid certification class, but we want more time to practice those algae skills in scenarios. So really, that's where this was born from, and has evolved, and hopefully you're seeing some scenarios that are beneficial, that seem very realistic. I do want to invite everybody, if you wouldn't mind, it's always kind of fun to see how long ago you were certified as a first aider. So if you wouldn't mind putting in the chat box, just introduce yourself, where you're from, how long ago it was that you were certified as a mental health first aider. And then also if you've attended one of these courses before. Again, this is our third simulation that we've done as a lunch and learn in this way. But again, it's just kind of nice to know if you've seen, if you've been here before. But this, I will tell you, the scenarios are going to be new. So I think we have one possibly that you've seen before, but the others are going to be new. So really nice. Again, how this is kind of framed is we're going to utilize the mental health first aid action plan, which of course is our algae action plan. And mental health first aid is that help that we use that guides us to provide support to somebody having a mental health challenge or substance use challenge. So again, that's kind of what we're doing. And we use that algae action plan that we all know and love so much, that we talked about and learned in our first aider class, to guide our conversations that we're going to have with these simulations or during these simulations. And of course, we're going to ask for volunteers to jump on camera and kind of walk through with the avatar these different scenarios. One of the other things I do want to point out is we are recording today's session. So if you don't want to be on camera, please do just take yourself off camera. Just know that we are recording. And then likewise, of course, we will send out, the information to you afterwards. So you will be getting some follow-up information. And thank you to all of you for sharing the information about yourself too. So Beth, if you want to take it from here, kind of walk through the logistics of what we're doing.
Yeah, so as Bridget mentioned, we are going to get a chance to interact with avatars experiencing mental health crisis. And we actually have our host avatar, Carter, who's going to come on and explain how that will work. Carter, are you available?
Hi, can you hear and see me okay?
Yes. Yep.
Great. So like Beth said, my name is Carter. I'm the host avatar today. And I can go over a little bit about how the simulation is going to work and answer any questions if you all are ready. Yeah, all right. So there are a few guidelines about the simulation that you need to know. The first one is that to start the simulation, all you have to do is say start or begin simulation. At that point, the avatar will appear on the screen, and once you see the avatar, you can begin your interaction. The second guideline to know about is if at any point you feel like you're confused or you don't know what to do, or maybe you just don't know how to respond to something and you need a second, you can say pause simulation. The avatar will leave the screen and you can take a second to collect your thoughts, ask questions, do whatever you need to do. And then when you feel ready again, just say resume simulation. The avatar will reappear and you can pick up right where you left off. You don't have to start over after you pause the simulation. And then when you're finished, just be sure to say end or stop simulation, as that is the avatar's cue to leave the screen. So if you forget to say that, they might hang around for a second or two, but they will leave eventually if you forget to say end or stop simulation. But just remember to give them their cue. Does that all make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Are there any questions about the simulation that you would like me to answer?
Yeah, are we doing this all at one time, or will and everyone else is watching, or is this a one-on-one thing?
It is a one-on-one interaction.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, so we're going to ask for a volunteer. We're going to share the scenario and kind of look at it as a group. And then we're going to ask for a volunteer, and that volunteer will get to interact with the avatar and talk through what they're going through. But as we're doing that, the group will be observing and will be able to kind of note when they're seeing the different parts of algae being applied. And so we'll be watching for that as a group. All right, thank you, Carter. I will go ahead and share the first scenario.
Okay. Yeah, I will say too, while we're pulling these up, and we get started doing this avatar or doing the simulation, I know one of the challenges with mental health first aid that oftentimes comes up, one of the questions is, where is my lane? What's my lane? Particularly for people who maybe have additional experience and additional background in clinical training. For our purposes today, we really do want to hone in on what it means to be a mental health first aider. What does it really look like what are the words we would say to somebody using algae? So again, many of you, it looks like clearly from the chat box, are coming to here today with a wealth of experience and a wealth of knowledge, clinical knowledge as well, and professional experience and training, which is all always certainly going to be beneficial in your interactions that you have with individuals. I think for our purposes today, we really want to try to have these conversations that focus on really using mental health first aid in that ALGE framework, if you will. So just kind of something to keep in mind. Again, I'll read through the scenario and then we're going to invite somebody to volunteer that just wants to talk through the avatar and kind of walk through that exercise together. We'll probably stop it if you don't stop it yourself after about 10 minutes, just so you're aware. And then we'll just kind of talk about what went well. What did people observe? What might you do differently in a future experience? Because again, that's how we learn. So it really is meant to be a low pressure kind of experience for everybody. So any questions before we get started? All right, I'll go ahead and read then. So our first scenario is about our neighbor, Paul. Paul lost his spouse a couple years ago, and you'd like to take him to lunch occasionally to get him out of the house and check in on him. Today at lunch, Paul seems a little incoherent. When you ask him about it, he reveals he's been taking painkillers to manage the pain from a recent surgery, but he's not really sure if he's taking them correctly. Using ALGE and to stimulate this conversation, we want to kind of tease a little bit further. Is he potentially maybe taking his medications improperly? Maybe unintentionally. So is there anybody that wants to volunteer to be our first person practicing?
Hi, this is Scott Lovig. I'll volunteer, but I just want to let you know I'm not certified in any of this kind of stuff. So if that's a problem, then I'll step back. But otherwise, I'm more than happy to do it.
Okay, nope. It is, what's your first name? Just so we know.
Scott,
Scott. Okay, perfect, Scott. Because right now you're
I'm
You're,
512-84591
I
right
was gonna
now.
say, yeah, you're what is that, like a Star Wars number, or I don't know what that's
I don't
from.
know. I got somebody forwarded me
Sideboard.
this link to
Yeah,
get
there
in.
you
So
go. You're the sideboard number. All right, Scott. Well, then, yes, you certainly can. And just to recap, just so you're aware, because you haven't been certified in mental health first aid, just so you know, the ALGE acronym stands for, it's our action plan. The A is assess, and it stands, and we want to assess, is the person at risk of suicide or harm to themselves or others. Our L is listening non-judgmentally. Our G is giving reassurance and information. Our first E is encouraging self-help and other support strategies. And our last E is encouraging professional help. So again, as you're walking through this, for the audience members, if you guys want to watch and maybe listen, thank you, Beth, for pulling that up. If you want to listen for those different steps as he talks about them, and you can put them in the chat box when you notice those phrases that Scott's using to demonstrate those particular steps. So Scott, I'm going to turn it back over to you. You can just say you're ready, and the avatar will get started with you then.
ready.
All right, give me one moment.
Hey, Paul, how you doing?
Hi, Scott. I'm, they didn't have the right seeds at the store, and I have to go to the pharmacy.
So, Paul,
Hmm.
you needed seeds at the store? How does that relate to going to the pharmacy?
What?
You said you had to go to the
Uh,
pharmacy, and then you said you also needed seeds. Were you going to the same place for those, or?
no, no. I went to the store for my garden, and now I have to go pick up more of my medication at the pharmacy.
Okay. How long you been taking the medication?
What?
How long have you been taking your medication?
Oh, since since my surgery a few weeks ago.
Oh, I didn't know you had to get surgery. Why'd you need to get surgery for, Paul?
Oh, my knee. They needed to clean up the replacement.
Oh, you had your knee replaced a while ago?
Yes.
Okay. So how's it been since the surgery?
Um. Uh. Oh, all right. I guess. Um. They gave me pain pills.
Okay. Did you decide to take them or did they tell you to take them?
They told me. They told me to take them when it hurt, and I've taken them. I need more.
Okay. How long were they supposed to last you? You know?
Um. I don't remember.
You don't remember? Do you have your medication with you right now or not?
No.
No? Okay. Have you been feeling any different since you started taking it?
Um. A lot better. Um. A lot happier.
A lot happier? You know, I gotta admit, you don't seem too happy. You seem like you're kind of tired or maybe a little bit out of it. Have you
Um.
noticed anything like that since you started taking it?
They they make me a little groggy, I guess, but um, it it makes me not think about um Annie as much, and I don't know. They make me
Oh,
forget how sad I am.
gotcha, gotcha. Have you talked to your doctors at all about how they make you feel since you
Well,
started taking the pain pills?
no, not yet.
Not yet. You might want to do that. I think it'd be a good idea for maybe to talk to your doctors about the medication you're taking. Because did they talk to you about any kind of side effects they might create for you when they prescribed them for you?
Oh, they told me I might feel um tired or a little um lethargic, I suppose, but no.
No. Okay. So you think about Annie a lot then, do you?
Yeah, I miss her, and my life feels pointless without Annie.
Okay. And so you said you think less about her when you're taking the pain pills, huh?
Yeah, they distract me.
How do they distract you?
Um, I just I don't know. I don't think about her as much.
Okay. And are you, does it hurt when you think about her or do you not like thinking about her or would you rather think about her? I mean, why does it,
No, I just I don't like thinking about her all the time anymore.
why is that?
I I don't know. I need to move on.
Okay. I think that's probably a good conversation to maybe have with some people that could help you with that. I mean, I'm more than happy to listen to you, but I'm not the kind of person who's able to maybe help you work through those things. Have you considered reaching out to therapist or something, or maybe asking your doctor if they know somebody you could talk to about that? Or do you have
I don't
another
know about
family
a
member or anybody?
therapist. I don't know. I I was just I maybe I should. I don't know.
Okay. So why don't you want to think about Annie anymore?
Well, it's been a few years since she died, and I don't like being sad all the time.
Why are you sad all the time?
I I don't know. I just my life doesn't feel right without Annie.
Well, I can understand that. I mean, let me say this is I've never been married, so I mean, I can't understand the loss of, that special person to you, but I can understand how you might feel lonely and, not everything's the way it used to be. I get that. But you know, I understand that kind of what you're talking about there. Have you considered maybe trying to find some other people who might have gone through the same type of situation you have to chat with them?
No, but that might be helpful.
It could be that you can maybe share experiences you had or feelings you had, and they might be able to as well. And it might be nice to know that, you know, the stuff you're feeling isn't something that just you feel, but other people have dealt with and deal with as well. To know there's other people out there who have the same feelings and outlook that you have right now.
I I suppose I could do something like that.
Okay. I do have a question for you, Paul. Had the doctors told you anything about any type of problems that the medication might cause you if you weren't using it correctly?
Um, they said they can be addictive.
Okay. And do you think that's something you're dealing with right now or not?
Um, I guess I have been taking more of them than I should.
Are you only taking them when your knee is hurting, or are you taking them all the time?
Well, they said to take them when my knee was bothering me, and I guess I guess I've been pretty liberal about deciding when my knee was hurting me.
Yeah, so maybe that's something you should chat with your doctor about as well on that one.
You're
You might
right.
you might want to reach out to him. Like I said, your doctor might be also able to help you get connected with some groups or something that of people who had dealt with the same situation you have as well, or you know, have some idea where to look around for that. Have you looked around for any of the in the area for like any um, senior centers or stuff like that, where they might have groups of people your age and stuff that you could go meet and maybe get some social interaction going on, or find some new friends or somebody to play cards with or something, or even
Uh,
find a group
oh,
of people that might be dealing with what you're dealing with.
I I tried, but there's nothing in the paper anymore, and I don't know how to use the computer.
Well, I could
I'm gonna
either
pause. I'm gonna
sure.
pause this if that's okay. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
So no, you're doing, Scott, you're doing great. I'm just going to hit the pause button. You're doing fabulous. But I think we're going to kind of take a step back now and just kind of look at it. So Scott, I think that went really well. And you need to now go become a first aider because you're right in line here. You are prepped and ready to go for this first aider class. So what do you think went well there, Scott?
Um, I thought I did a pretty decent job of asking questions to get more information. Um, I always I always try to make sure when I'm talking with people in situations like that I don't come across as necessarily understanding exactly what they're feeling, especially if I haven't been in that situation, but just to let them know that I understand that they're,
Yeah,
you know, basically having feelings and that it's okay. It's, you know, it's
yeah,
them and you, and there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
also I also try to a lot of times situations like that, I'll use the word struggle. I always try to make sure that I'm not attempting to provide um what's the word I'm looking for? Fixes to the problem
Mm,
if they
yeah.
if they're not looking for them. So, but at other times it's, you know, listening and maybe suggesting some ways they can go about looking for things or
Yeah,
helping
and
them.
if I can stop you right there, Scott, just kind of backing up. First of all, I want to say, like, we're all going to give you like a virtual clap here too, because great job. Because being the first one's always tough. So thank you so much for doing that. I think you did great. You know, and some of the things that you're touching on are absolutely the things that I observed. That listening non-judgmentally piece, meaning you were listening without. So just trying to make it sound like he's done something good or bad or indifferent, that's that listening non-judgmentally, which again is what we're supposed to be doing. Likewise, the way you talked about, you weren't necessarily giving advice to him. You weren't saying you need to do this, this, and this. Instead, you were giving reassurance and information. Here's some information about some things. Here's some possibilities of things that are maybe going on. Here's some potentials. options for choices of remedies on how to make this a little more comfortable for you. So, you know, you did a great job demonstrating both of those. What else? What else, Scott, would you say went well there?
Um, I felt I was able to get him to open up a little bit
Mhm.
and talk with me. So that's always good because for me, one of the things is I'm worried about if I'm going to say something that's going to shut him down to where like, all right, conversation's over versus reassuring them that it's okay to talk with me because I'm not going to necessarily judge them or
Yeah.
or put them in a situation where they feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that's great. Because you know, we have to spend that time. I mean, algae is an action plan, but outside of all of that, we have to build trust up with people first. And they, you know, they have to trust us. We have to have some rapport built with them before we can implement any of this. So absolutely. Yeah, I think that was great. Anything else?
The only thing I was going to say at the end there before you cut me off, I was getting ready to tell him I'd come over and get on the computer with him and help him use that to look for places around or,
That's
you know,
great.
or I could get him some information for places on my own.
Yeah, yeah, no,
And
that's
then if
absolutely.
he
Yeah.
wanted to even maybe go visit a place or two with him. So he had
Yeah.
a familiar face there.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah, I mean, make it, you know, make it real time right now. Let's go do it right now. Because I'm showing you that I'm telling you that I care, and I'm showing you that I care too, because we're going to go do it right now. I'm going to use up my time to spend with you to go do this. Which again, that's a way that we communicate to people that I care about you. I'm not just saying I care about you. I'm showing you I care, which is wonderful. Um, anybody want to chime in? I know we're seeing a lot of great feedback here in the chat box. Does anybody else want to chime in on things that they saw that went well in that interaction?
I think Scott's approach was, you know, his tone was very friendly and welcoming to the conversation, which probably helped Paul open up more. And just the way he was able to keep the conversation going, there were no lulls in the conversation. He kept it rolling very seamlessly.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, great observation. Anybody else?
I'll also jump in and say Scott did a really great job of walking him to kind of the point and walking him to kind of the issue at hand. It didn't necessarily tell him, "Oh, it sounds like you have a problem." He kind of walked
Mhm.
side by side with him and led him to the point of, "Yeah, maybe I'm not taking these in the way that I should," and allowed him the opportunity to advocate for himself in that time of saying, "You know what? Yeah, maybe this is something that we should look at."
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are great observations. Scott, is there any, oh, Tia, go ahead. I see your hand up in the galaxy.
Yeah, I'm in the galaxy. I just want to point out that I love the way Scott's voice kept that even tone, and he had short sentences, and he stopped to reflect to make sure that Paul was understanding what he said.
Yeah. Yeah, really important too, especially considering the situation. If we're concerned that maybe he's overtaking his medications, whether it's intentional or unintentional, nonetheless, he may or may not be able to process everything we're saying. So yes, Scott did a great job kind of using short, simple sentences, good repetition, you know, good kind of reframing the statements so that we're making sure we're all on the same page, to reorient and make sure we're all working together here, which is great. Yeah, I agree. Scott, is there anything you would do differently? I mean, if you, besides getting cut off by me, right? You got short.
I don't, based on the situation, probably not.
Okay.
You know, a lot of the way you approach somebody, at least in my opinion, is how well you know them. So, you know, I went into that assuming Paul and I were friends and we'd known each other for a while. So, you know, the conversation I'm going to have with a complete stranger might start off a little different
Mhm. Yeah,
on
yeah,
that part,
absolutely.
you know, so,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't see anything or there's nothing I would have changed particularly.
Yeah, and it's, again, you did a great job in it, you know, in this, though we try to make this as real life as possible, right? It's still a simulation. So it's still, there's some differences than if a person's actually right there in front of you, but Yeah, great job. Would anybody want to practice stating another line of algae that they may have included in this conversation with the gentleman? I know we had some in the chat box, some feedback. Anybody want to share?
Maybe asking just outright, but in that same calm voice, if he had any plans to hurt himself or
Yeah.
anyone else, but in that same calm voice that Scott had.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe using that, we heard one warning, where we heard a statement that said, in my life, I think I wrote it down here. I just feel like I feel life is pointless without Annie. So we hear him say that. We hear him say life is pointless without Annie. So it might be an opportunity then to practice that to really, or to use that, not practice it, but really ask that question directly. Have you had thoughts of wanting to die by suicide? Really putting it in that place. Again, using that same tone. Very beneficial. Did we know if he's considering any harmful approaches to himself? Yeah, again, maybe asking more pointed questions about that. Amanda pointed out here, I'd provide tangible resources, like I know a grief support group we can go to. Would you be open to that? Yeah. And again, as the conversation would have lasted longer, more tangible, more realistic. Yeah, and here's the name of some places, right? Can be incorporated into that, but absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Anybody else?
I got a question on that. So like
Yeah.
for me, my concern is if I start bringing something up, I'll just use that bluntly. My
Mhm.
concern is I'm gonna turn them off and shut them down, and they might just go like, all right, this conversation's over.
Yeah.
And at that point, it's like, well, I don't know if I can get them back to talking or helping with me. So, whether or not that's a valid concern to have, I don't know. But that's when I considered, making a statement like, well, are you considered killing yourself or hurting yourself? At that point, it's really, I guess for me, I got to feel like there's no other discussion to have at that point.
First, let me say it is a valid concern. You definitely, I appreciate you sharing that because it's understandable to have that as a valid concern. I will say that's one of the things we talk about in the mental health first aid class is where does that fit into the equation then? Where do we run that risk of shutting down the conversation? Do we run that risk of stepping on somebody's toes? Do we run the risk of offending somebody or maybe somebody blocking and becoming guarded when we ask that question? If we ask it as direct as that. And what I will say is the answer is, we ask it anyways. And then we can repair the relationship as we need to. We can open it, rework on that relationship, but it's so critical to ask the question that we want to do it. But again, it's a great question. That's a great concern to bring up. And it's all about time, timing, of course. But that is one of the things that holds people back from asking that question. But we want to, we do encourage people to still ask the question when the warning signs are there. If there is a warning, if the hair on the back of your neck stands up, something, those spidey senses go off, that's your cue. Doesn't have to be right in that exact moment, but like within the next two or three sentences, we want to respond to it, because we may be the only one that ever does. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. Anybody else want to add? Would anybody add anything to that? Pamela, I see a hand.
I pretty quickly wanted to get a hold of the guy's doctor and get him over to the ER. So I was the MHFA'er that was sitting at the next table over, eavesdropping on the conversation. And I know it's an avatar, but just the lack of being able to concentrate on the general conversation, and the motor skills, lack of being able to keep his head from bobbing and things like that. I thought, okay, we're in almost in OD mode. So I might have, not knowing that person, suggested let's give a call to your doctor and get a life squad on the way. Or if you refuse the life squad, which most elderly people do, because they grew up not using public services because they were just taught you don't go to the doctor, you don't do that sort of thing. But knowing he's an elderly person, I might call his doctor and have him talk to the doctor on speaker and just say, I think I need to be seen. And the doctor, then someone he would respect medically, would no doubt send him on to the, say, yeah, let's go, head to the ER. That just concerned me about his general well-being.
Yeah, and certainly, I think, again, some of that goes back to the nature of the relationship that you have with the person, Pamela. Yeah, thank you so much for bringing that up. Is this normal activity for him? Is it not? Is this, but if it, did say in the description, he's a little more lethargic than normal, or he seems to be a little bit more disorganized than normal. Again, I always encourage people to err on the side of caution. If you are in doubt, get the evaluation, let's get the medical evaluation, or whatever that may be. And, start with that first. And then we work, we keep working through, the issues, but safety always trumps all of it. So, every time. So yeah, that's a great point. Well, thank you guys for your feedback. I appreciate that. And again, great job. Let's give Scott a round of applause for that. Wonderful. Great job. And we're excited to get you to sign up for we'll share some information on how to sign up for a mental health first aid class. So you can put that under your belt as well. And put it on add that to your repertoire that you already have. So great job. We'll go ahead and
I'd appreciate that greatly.
yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Beth, should we do, just for time's sake, do you want to should we skip over to our next avatar or our next scenario?
Sure.
Because it's a little bit different then. We get a little bit of a different.
Do you want this one?
No, scenario 3.
Okay.
Yeah, and then we'll come back to Colleen if we have time. All right, so our next one then, so you guys kind of keep thinking as we'll do the same thing again, ask or volunteer to walk through this, but I'll read it for you. Today, while eating lunch in the break room, so we're in the workplace, you start a conversation with your coworker, Gordon. Gordon starts ranting about how much he hates the company. Gordon smells about alcohol and appears inebriated. This isn't the first time you've heard Gordon go off like this or suspected that he's been abusing alcohol. Using our ALGE acronym, let's have a framework let's use the ALGE framework as a way to guide our conversation with him, to provide support to him for those next steps. Anybody want to volunteer to walk through what that might look like?
I can do it.
Perfect. Thank you, Barb. And then you can just say start when you're ready to go, and he'll get set up then.
Okay, start.
Are you there, Barb?
Yes. Hi, how are you?
I'm mad. I'm mad, Barb. I've had it with these idiots at this company. I don't understand. Do they have one brain cell between them or something? I would have been better at this job than that idiot they hired. I'm so sick and tired of this place.
I'm sorry. Remind me what your name is.
Gordon.
Gordon. I'm so sorry, Gordon. I'm horrible with names. Gordon, you seem really agitated. Is there something that happened today that upset you?
Oh, that's just the same old crap that's always going on. I just found out I didn't get the promotion and they hired some young guy.
Oh, that's really disappointing. I bet you were really hoping to get that.
Yeah, I mean, I've been at this company for 25 years. You know, like a little loyalty would have been nice, but no, I guess they're gonna go with some young guy.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. Gordon, would you mind me asking, have you had any alcohol to drink today? You sound a
I
little
had a
slurred
few
in your
beers at
speech.
lunch.
Okay. Um, is that something you do often, when you're at work?
Uh, no, I just when I'm stressed, I just had a beer at lunch. I mean, what's the big deal?
Okay, just one beer?
Oh, okay, a couple.
Okay. Well, I mean, sometimes alcohol can make things seem a lot worse or more upsetting than they would be if you were a little more clear-headed. Is How often do you have drinks like during the day? Like how many days a week would you say?
I don't know. I would say a couple a night or something like that. I've always done it. It's no big deal.
Well, how do you feel when you've been drinking versus when you're not, when you haven't had anything to drink?
I don't know. I feel angrier, but that's just because I got passed over for this promotion.
Okay. What have you ever tried to stop drinking?
No, why would I do that?
Have you ever seen your drinking as a problem for you, something that you can't control?
No, no. My drinking is fine. My drinking's not the problem. You know what? And I'm still better at my job with a few drinks than half the idiots who work here. So it's not like it affects me or anything.
Okay, Gordon, I've seen you before, when you don't sound like this and maybe haven't been drinking, and I do feel like you're a little more professional, a little more clear-headed. So do you think it would be worth maybe trying to not drink during the workday for a while, or maybe try and go a week or two without any beer?
You know what? Why don't you go talk to some of the other guys out there? You know what? I heard that Johnson, he drinks way more than me.
Well, that's not good either, Gordon, but we're talking to you right now, and I want you to be successful in this company, and I know you can do a good job. I've seen you do good work before. So I'm just wondering if that's something that you might, think about.
No, I don't think it's an issue. My drinking helps me deal with these idiots.
Okay. So if you're using alcohol to manage life, I don't know if that's really a good use of a substance like that. Okay. Some people would say that's abusing substances.
Oh, well, those people just can't handle their alcohol.
Well, okay. If somebody's handling their alcohol, it's not going to make them more angry than usual. Right?
I'm not doing a very good job.
I guess.
So, I don't know. Have you talked to your doctor about how much you drink? Has he asked you how much you drink?
No, I haven't been to the doctor in years.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at that age when we really should be going to the doctor on a regular basis, because things creep up on you. And it might be a good idea to, be evaluated. Alcohol can cause, problems with your stomach and problems with your functioning. It might be a good idea to go get a checkup sometime soon.
Yeah, all right. I'll go to the doctor.
Okay. Can you let me know when you've gone and seen your doctor, if you don't mind?
Fine, I'll set up an appointment this afternoon.
That would be great. I just feel like, Gordon, you could do such a good job here if you were a little more clear-headed, and if we could just, maybe save the drinking for after work, or maybe even just not at all for a while?
I'm not going to stop drinking. I don't have a problem.
Gordon, do you have a regular family doctor that you can call?
Yeah, I got a guy.
Okay, but if you don't, I can give you the name of my doctor. I know that she's taking new patients.
All right, fine. I can check out a new doctor, I guess.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be checking in with you every couple of days and see how that's going, see if you made your appointment, and see how work's going, because, you know, I really want to see you succeed here. And I want to see you get those promotions that you're looking for.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Never going to happen, though.
Why don't you think it'll happen?
They don't like me. They just want to hire these young guys who know how to work the computers better than me.
Okay. I like you. And I think maybe we could make some improvements, and I think you might find that things are going better for you.
Yeah, we'll see.
We're gonna pause here. We're gonna take a time out. Excellent. All right, let's give Barb a round of applause again. This is a tough one too. These are definitely tough situations, realistic situations, and tough ones to boot. So Barb, great job on that. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to make sure we have enough time to kind of go through everything as well. What went well, Barb? What would you say?
I'm sorry, you froze. Did you ask me a question?
Sorry, yes, I did. I was asking you what went well. I was saying great job, and then what went well? What went well there?
I mean, I think hopefully him saying that he was going to get in contact with his doctor. I don't have, I think a lot of people commented, I don't have a lot of confidence that he's going to do that right away. But this was just kind of getting that conversation started, and maybe planting a seed about thinking about, you know, how often he's drinking and what effect it has on him and things like that. So that's why I, you know, said I was going to follow up with him, you know, so that he would feel a little bit of accountability there.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything else you would add?
No, I mean, I've met people like this. And so it's frustrating. And it's hard to not just try to fix everything for them. You know, so that's, you know, I did feel like I was kind of struggling there because, you know, it's just, that's not the way I would respond to that same situation, you know?
Yeah.
If
and
I
I
were
would think, given the workplace, there can be, realistically, there may in fact be, you know, protocol that needs to happen, that needs to take place, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody's in the workplace and they are, we know that they are impaired, as a coworker, we would need to respond to that, you know,
right,
as well, right? For disciplinary reasons or for accountability reasons. So then alongside of that, then we would have a conversation with them as a friend though, too, that, hey, I know you're going through a lot right now. I know this has been stressful and everybody here is driving us all crazy. You know, but I'm concerned about you because I've noticed you've been drinking a little bit more. And the fact that you're coming back to work drinking. I care about you because you're going to lose your job. You know, you're going to lose your job if you're not careful. So I think, you know, kind of taking, you know, kind of going in, you know, leaving, there's going to be accountability that's going to happen through the workplace, because there just is. And then coming at this, then that caring, concerned, you know, non-judgmental approach, as the first aider, that, all right, this is reality. This is what's going on right now. You know, I'm not maybe necessarily trained in, you know, exactly how to determine if somebody's abusing alcohol, like all those steps. I mean, I heard you say it, you said, you know, you're trained in doing it, which is good. We can use that. But if I'm not trained in it, I can still show them, hey, look, I know this is a crappy situation. Things are crappy right now. I want to try to get you help because I care about you. And here's what help is going to look, you know, here's some options of what help can look like in this situation. great, and student one, great point. Yeah, there's some little motivational interviewing tactics here. Could have mentioned perhaps he was getting passed on promotions, might have been associated with his alcohol consumption in the workplace. And you did bring that up, Barb, a little bit, that you
Yeah.
want to see succeed here, and I know that you can.
Yeah.
And maybe you've missed out on some opportunities because of
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah, I
Uh,
was trying to point out that, you really are different when you're not in this state. And I didn't even think, as you mentioned, that this might be a job where being under any influence could be a safety issue. And I'm a
Yeah.
teacher. So like if I
Yeah.
were at a school situation, yeah, there would have to be something happening immediately.
Yeah, yeah. And we can still have conversation, you can still be a first aider and supportive, and still make sure that those things are happening too, right?
Right.
Yeah. What else did you guys notice that went well? What other steps of algae did Barb do a good job demonstrating there?
Yeah, she definitely encouraged getting some appropriate help
Mhm.
and was listening non-judgmentally. Even though, I'm really good at the listening part, but maybe not so good at the pushing to an action part. And I felt like, in this situation, she had to do a little bit of that, as well as, how to get help, who to get help from, and not just let it drop.
And that's a great point. Yeah, I mean, you definitely took it that next step further. Here's some places, you can go to your primary care doctor and get, and get support for this, because maybe he doesn't even realize that that's even an option. Somebody else I know pointed out your employee assistance program, your EAP. Again, that's a great resource to have, especially when you're in the workplace. Hey, did you know that you can actually call them and it's confidential? Nobody knows. Because there's a lot going on here, and instead of leaning into the alcohol, which can get you into trouble, here's some other options of things where places you can get help that don't cause, they're not going to cause you trouble. So yeah, that was a great job. And then what was somebody else pointed out in here? Listening and encouraging, again, kind of giving that reassurance and information. Hey, I like you. You do a good job at the workplace. I see you do a good job. That's that giving reassurance. And then of course that information piece too. And that following up with him later. Yeah, absolutely. And I know some of you, thank you guys for your feedback on that. I know some of you put in here a few things about maybe some different lines you might have used with algae and in the future, some different things. Actually, let me start with you, Barb, first though. What are some things you would do differently if you interacted with him again? If there's anything.
Do you mean like as a follow-up or like a redo?
A redo.
So I totally forgot about the employee assistance issue. And I think that is always a really good thing to offer, because people forget that they have that resource at most workplaces. I don't know, I might have kind of pointed out like some scenario that I could remember where he did something really well, when he was clear-headed. And then other time, maybe some situations where I could tell that he was, not, and how that's when things go badly. And, maybe if you feel like you're needing that alcohol to numb pain or make you feel better when you're unhappy, maybe we need to find some tools to do those things without abusing a substance. And I think kind of honing in on that phrase, that this is substance abuse. I think sometimes people who just drink beer think it's not really drinking or really abusing a substance.
Yeah. It's a problem when it becomes a problem, right? That's when it's a problem. In Houston, we have a problem right now.
Yeah, but I think he was at a point where he wasn't even acknowledging it as a problem at all. He's not seeing any negatives because he's kind of pushing it off on other people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are great observations, for sure. And I think we saw, we got some feedback, you know, again, I think there's always that line of not getting into diagnosing, right? And finding that label, whether it is or it isn't, but just knowing that, hey, I've noticed, have you noticed? I'm not an expert in this, but I trust there's people that are. And here's a number of some folks that I know, that I had a buddy once that went through a similar experience. They went and talked to X, Y, and Z and started noticing that, that they weren't as tempted to use when life was going lousy, or whatever. I think one of the other suggestions that came up, of course, is we do have to be mindful, depending on how much he has had to drink, the potential for violence is there. That is a one of those safety concerns. Some safety is always first, right? Safety always trumps all of it, because we do want to make sure that, especially if I'm in a room by myself with this person, have that under consideration as well, because that could have, that could go either way. Anything, depending on what was depending on how the conversation went. Anybody else?
I have kind of a question.
Yeah.
Would it be okay, I guess, to not even mention the alcohol that much and just listen and give the resources of like the EAP and let them kind of figure that out? Although I understand that violence tendency is there too, so you'd want to address that, but I don't know. That's just more of a question.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think there's focusing in on, okay, you're upset, you're frustrated right now. What are you doing to deal with that? And then, okay, so here's one way, so alcohol is one way to deal with it. Okay, people do get themselves into some trouble sometimes drinking, and drinking and then work, drinking at the job is going to get you in trouble. What are some other ways that you deal with stress when things are getting stressful for you? Can I help you get reconnected with some of those? Can we get you connected? You know what I mean? So I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, the conversation doesn't necessarily have to be as much, about the drinking, per se in that moment, but as a symptom of what's going on, right? So yeah, Angela, it looks like you get some feedback as well.
Yeah, so just say in the scenario, he's being all negative, refuses help and everything. And at this point, what do you do? Do you report this to the supervisor? Or I mean, how would I handle that? Because if he's refused my help or anything like that, in denial and things like that, what do I do on my end if I use all the algae steps?
Yeah. And that's a great question. And thank you for caring about him enough to follow up. What I will say is we know that algae does not supersede, or mental health first aid does not supersede any organizational policies. So it's going to be whatever your policy says. Second to that though, if there's not a policy in place, you need to go talk to, let the supervisor know, you can, depending on safety, you can let them know, hey, you're in here drinking. Like, again, you're in the school, you're in a healthcare field. You can't be doing this. Like, I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned about, you being here today. We got to get you home. You need to get home, get some rest. Obviously things aren't going well here, but yeah, I mean, you do have though, most organizations are going to probably have a policy in place that says, yeah, you need to be letting a supervisor know. And again, it doesn't mean you can't still show, yeah, this stinks. There's a lot going on and this is really lousy.
Right.
I care about you. I'm not trying to tattle. I care about you. I'm concerned. I want to get you the help that I can't give to you right now, but I can maybe get you connected to somebody that can.
Yes.
Does that answer?
It answers.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Kat, did I never circle back. Did I answer your question?
Yes, and I also
Okay.
wanted to say thank you to Barb for doing such a good job.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, she did. She did fabulous. Well, I think with that, Beth, I think we had two really great scenarios, guys. So thank you so much for walking through all those with us. We really appreciate it. And we have, as promised, that feedback survey that we talked about. So if you guys would, you can do it right now, or you can hold on to it later. But scan this QR code and get this feedback sent in to us. Because again, we want to make this helpful information, and helpful opportunities to practice those algae skills that we learn. And our next session is going to be December 10th. Same format, virtual. But again, if there's a different scenario that you are looking for or that you'd like to practice, please do let us know. Because the BGSU team, Beth and her team with the virtual simulation program have done an amazing job. We've come up with these scenarios all pretty much like after each session. We'll say, hey, this is what people are looking for. And they magically make them happen. So they're wonderful for this. So thank you again, Beth and Jared, for all your work on this. It is much appreciated. And thank you to all of you for spending your lunch with us.
I did post a link for the survey in the chat too, if that's easier than the QR code. So that's in the chat a couple times.
Thank you.
And we'll send it in the follow-up email as well.
Thank you all again very much. It was wonderful seeing everybody, and thank you for spending your lunchtime with us. Have a wonderful day. And I think, Beth, do you send out an email or a follow-up in some way?
Yeah, I'll send a follow-up email either later today or early tomorrow.
Okay.
Have the evaluation in it. And then people who need documentation of participating in this, you'll get a certificate with contact hours as well. And we'll send information about the December 10th session too, if you want to register for that.
Great.
Oh,
And
while you're doing that, Caitlin, our new person at NHO, had joined me. Her supervisor had registered, but she did not get she was a late register. So what does she need to do to get her certificate?
If she participated, then we should have her on the attendance list, and she'll get that follow-up email.
Okay, great.
If you're on this and you don't get a follow-up email, if you could check in with us, we're going to do attendance from the Zoom participants. So sometimes the names are weird and stuff. So if you don't get a follow-up email, reach out to us and let us know, and we'll get back with you.
Okay.
Where should we send our suggestions for what kind of scenarios we might like to see?
I think
that will be in the feedback, the survey that you do at the end. It'll be in there. There's a spot in there for it. Yep. Great question.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And Beth, I think will you be putting out then as well when our next open classes are?
Yes.
If I share that with you. Okay, yeah. So for all of you that, if you have not already become certified as a first aider, mental health first aider, the information about upcoming classes will also be included in that email. So you can pass it on to your friends as well, if friends and family, if they would like to become certified also. So thank you.